Human circulatory system. The human circulatory system has three main components, and these are heart, blood, and blood vessel. In this video, we will look at blood vessel and heart. Starting from blood vessels, there are three main types of blood vessels, which are arteries, veins, and capillaries. So we will look at these blood vessels now. Starting from arteries, these are the vessels that takes the blood away from the heart. A for arteries and A for away, so you can easily remember it. So these arteries basically carry the oxygenated blood, and they take the oxygenated blood from the heart to the body, except for the pulmonary artery that carries the deoxygenated blood. Then there are veins. These are the vessels that takes the blood towards the heart from the body, and they carry the deoxygenated blood, except for the pulmonary veins that carry the oxygenated blood. Then there are capillaries that are formed by the division of arteries and veins into arterioles and venules respectively, which further branch down to form the capillaries. Capillaries are the thin blood vessels. They have small size, and due to which they have larger surface area and are basically involved in the exchange of gases in the lungs and in the alveoli. So now we will look at the heart anatomy structure by first digging down into the deoxygenated blood flow in the heart. Deoxygenated blood is blood that contains lesser amount of oxygen, and it contains more amount of carbon dioxide. So this blood is needed to be oxygenated, and so for this oxygenation it needs to come into the heart. So it comes into the heart from the body via the superior and inferior vena cava, which are the larger veins, and these vena cava enter into the right atrium. When the right atrium is fully filled up, it contracts down, thus pushing the blood into the right ventricle. Between the right atrium and right ventricle, there is a valve, and this valve is known as tricuspid valve because it has three flaps, and this valve prevents the backflow of blood from the right ventricle into the right atrium, thus keeping the blood into the right ventricle. Now, when the right ventricle is fully filled up, it contracts, thus pushing the blood into the pulmonary artery. Between the pulmonary artery and right ventricle, there is a valve, and this valve is known as pulmonary valve. Pulmonary valve has the same function. It prevents the backflow of blood from pulmonary artery into the right ventricle. So pulmonary artery then takes the blood from the heart into the lungs for the purpose of oxygenation. Pulmonary artery takes the blood into both left and right lung for the oxygenation purpose. So now in the lungs, blood gets oxygenated as the lungs takes the oxygen from the environment. So this oxygen is then entered into the blood via the alveoli. So here is a quick review by the help of this diagram. So now we will look at the oxygenated blood flow in the heart. When the blood gets oxygenated in the lungs, it needs to be in the body. So it is carried into the body again by this pumping machine heart. So oxygenated blood is carried back again into the heart via the pulmonary veins, which are present into both left and right lungs. So pulmonary veins receives the oxygenated blood from the lungs, and these veins will then open up into the left atrium of the heart. So when the left atrium of the heart is fully filled up, it contracts down, thus pushing the blood into the right ventricle. So right ventricle and into the left ventricle. So left atrium, when fully filled up, it contracts and it pushes the blood into the left ventricle correct chamber. So between the left atrium and left ventricle, there is a valve which is known as bicuspid or a mitral valve. We call it as a bicuspid valve because it has two flaps, as you can see in the diagram. So now the left ventricle, when it is fully filled up, it will contract and thus forcing the blood into the aorta. Aorta is a larger artery and between aorta and left ventricle there is a valve, and this valve is known as aortic valve, as you can see. And this valve is like a controller. It prevents the backflow of blood from the aorta into the left ventricle. So from the aorta, blood is forced into the body. Blood is taken into the body via the arteries. So here is a quick flow diagram which shows the oxygenated blood flow in the human heart. Hopefully you have understood the concept. For any suggestions, kindly comment below in the comment section, and like my video and subscribe to my channel. Thank you.